Hi, and welcome. Let me widen that out just a little. I had a question about my how I put pages into my journal from someone who said that they use recycled boxes in some of their journals too. And they were wondering how I put my pages into my Halloween journal. Just a second, let me grab that journal. So it's this journal that I just did a video on, and it's available here on this channel on YouTube. So they were wondering how I put these pages into my book. And it's actually fairly simple, but I thought I would maybe make a Christmas journal and do it in a similar manner to this, and maybe do a demonstration when it comes to putting the pages in. So for now, I've identified my box that I'm going to use, and I took its measurements, and the front and back will be 4 3/4 inches. Excuse my old beat up ruler. 4 3/4 inches wide by about 7 3/8 inches long once I cut the flaps off. And I thought with this journal, instead of cutting this piece off to make the book open, I'm going to cut this down the center and make an extra little flat part on the front and the back, which I haven't quite decided how I want to use, but it will be there when I want it. So and it has some acetate here, but for this journal I'm going to ignore that and just treat it as though it was a solid piece of cardboard. I will cover the whole thing and we will go from there. But this is going to be a Christmas journal, so I hope you enjoy. I may do a voiceover, or I may just speed through it. Don't know. Anyway, stay tuned. Okay, I've got the top and the bottom trimmed off, and my trimmer is a nice heavy-duty trimmer, which I don't have in a position where I can really show it to you. But it took off the top and the bottom, and then I'm just going to use a pair of scissors, and I measured to about the halfway point, and just with my ruler and a black Sharpie drew a line. So I will cut through this. And there's that. So, and this will be my journal. And you see this, this box actually has a glue. Hard to tell, my lighting is terrible, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, I don't get paid for this, so it is what it is. But you can see that the back is actually glued to the front here on this side. And I will take care of that with my bookbinding tape, because I don't use the, I do use, what's Tyvek from envelopes, but I also have, if I'm not going to be painting or doing anything directly on this journal, I'm going to cover this with paper anyway. So I have this tape, and it's not a clear packing tape, but it's something similar to packing tape. I think it's a little bit heavier, and it's opaque. And all I do is I'm not going to go across the, I can't talk today. I won't go across the fold. I leave that free because I don't want the extra bulk on my, there. I just wanted to get the extra crease out of there. And I just take my scissors and I'll just cut it. And I like this better than the Tyvek because basically I don't have to do any extra like double-sided tape or glue or anything like that. I can just, you know, it's already self-adhesive. It adds body, doesn't tear. And I will just take another piece and just fill the hole. Like I said, I don't want to go over the fold. I just want, or the crease for the fold. I just want to come right up alongside it. Try to do it as smoothly as I can. But this is mostly, you know, it's like I said, it's already adhesive. I don't have to mess around with double-sided tape or glue. I can just put this on and fold it over, and it gives me, you know, a nice, secure binding that I don't have to worry about. And like I said, it doesn't tear. And if I want, I can put a piece, and sometimes I you know, I go a little bit to the extreme. And I'll put another piece, excuse that sound. I'll put another piece here, and that way if I sew any signatures in, it just gives a little bit more stability to the sewn in signature. And Bob's your uncle. So that's my binding. And I may put a piece of tape across here just to kind of reinforce where that acetate is too, because that's just a, you know, it's just a glued-in piece from a pasta box. I'm just going to cut a piece of tape. And just put it right over this, just to kind of reinforce it so it doesn't poke through or anything. There. So that's that, and that is pretty much all I do to prep the base of my box. If I was going to use light colored paper, I might put a coat of gesso on this just so it doesn't show through the paper. But I'm going to cover the whole book, so I don't think that's going to make any difference. So like I said, I cut the one side apart, the other side is going to be my spine. So I will be back with the next part. Okay, well, I've been thinking about this, and I think I am going to reinforce these flaps just a little bit with some tape. And I think what I'm going to do is just on the outside so it doesn't interfere with the folding in. So I'm going to just, well, I'm going to try to get this tape to come off. Usually don't have to struggle with it too much. Okay. So all I'm going to do is take this and I'm just going to lay it down like that. And then I'm just going to cut it. just lay it. I'll try to lay it without getting too many wrinkles in it. Well, it's not the straightest taping job I've ever done. Let's see. I will lift this. Well, I guess I won't because it's going to lift the whole thing. I'm just going to take my scissors. And I will just try to work the air out of my wrinkle. And if I can't work the air out, I will a little slit in it and work it out that way. There. There. Okay. And that's just to try to, if I just, whatever I decide to do on with this fold, I just wanted to give it a little extra strength. But I do want to keep most of this tape. I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter to keep most of this tape on the outside, not the inside, because I don't want to impact the, put that there. I don't want to impact the way the piece folds in. Oh my goodness, I am struggling today. I'll cut that off and I will just fold it down. That leaves me all these little extra pieces. So instead of cutting a whole bunch of new tape, or instead of wasting it, I guess I should say, I will just use it over here. Because I am frugal like that. Not that I won't use a whole piece, but I didn't waste those little pieces. Right now I'm just peeling up the end, trying to. There. I only want a little bit over this end. See if I can make it stay out there. There's that. We'll seal this all down. This side went down much better than the other side. And there's not much there, so I will just fold this over. And there. And that hopefully won't be too much. Okay. That's why I try to stay away from the folds, is because when I put that tape in there, it gives it more tension. And it doesn't want to fold over very nicely, or easily, I guess I should say. Not that it doesn't fold nicely, but I still don't know what I want to do with these two extra flaps. Have to figure that out. Okay, I do have some green packing paper, and I think this is what I'm going to cover the book in, and this will be my base coat. And then I will put Christmas designs as my part of my Christmas photo journal. This one I want to do a little bit differently though, and I already have some previously coffee stained paper, and there's some white, and there's a piece of green, and there's a piece of pink, I don't know if I'm going to iron this to make it a little crisper, but I think I would like to also add like a journaling section. So we'll see how that goes. Have to think about it. Okay, so here we go. I'm probably just going to fast forward and voice over. But what I did was I took a piece of my green packing paper, and this is just padding that I received in a package that I ordered something online. And I've cut myself about maybe a piece that allows me 2 inches. Let's see. Find the side that's got the inches on it. There it is. It's about 2 inches, almost 2 inches all the way around. And this is just, you know, the way you would cover. And just fold the edges in so you get creases. And you do the sides too. And then you take it and you have the intersection where your folds cross. And all I do then is take my scissors, and you kind of just want to cut down too, but not through that corner. And the same on all 4 corners. And here's the last one. And that's just so you're eliminating bulk and giving yourself kind of a mitered edge. So I just lay this back in here and just close it down to make sure everything is okay. And then when I seal this, oh, looks like I went a little, no, I'm okay. And then when I close this, what I'll do is I'll take my bone folder or, you know, something, and like tip that in and glue this down just to give it a smooth corner. And you can do this with double-sided tape or craft glue. The last journal I did not put any glue in here, and so it made the paper kind of loose, which I liked because it was a Halloween journal and I wanted it to kind of have that leathery skin appearance. This one I may take some double-sided tape and just put the whole thing down because I don't know what I'm going to put on the outside of this one. And if you're going to put anything heavy on the outside that could pull away, you do want to be aware of that because it could tear the paper if it's not supported by the cardboard. So I am not going to do that on camera. I am going to hook my whole book together because all I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere the bottom, and then I'll adhere these pieces to the inside. And I do it just like that. I usually put the long, no I don't. I usually put the short pieces on the outside. And I'm just trying to think because I have these flaps here. So I think in this case I'm going to put I'm going to put the long pieces on the inside because I do have these flaps. So I want this to be a nice clean edge. Even though I may cover it again, I haven't quite decided. So that's that. And this is just a quick look at what I've done with my double-sided tape. I've hooked my box down to my paper, and now I'm going to put the inside flaps down. And what I'm going to do for that is I've got a piece of double-sided tape here and a piece of double-sided tape here. You can use, I use whatever I happen to have. This is kind of no-name double-sided tape that I got probably at AC Moore. I do have some Sequang, but it is a very large roll. I got it from scrapbook.com in California years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know if they still sell it. It wasn't cheap. I probably wouldn't do it again. I've been hoarding it, but that's what I use to hook my book down. It's like, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 inches wide, and I just did it on each side and a piece in the center, and then this was a little leftover piece that I cut off. So anyway, I'm also going to put a little bit of wet glue in here. I'll use Aleene's tacky glue. And like I said, I'm going to put these ends down first because I have these flaps down here that I'm not sure what I want to do with, and I want to have that smooth edge to finish it. So let me try to get my cap off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run some glue. This won't be a lot of glue, but I just want some to like hold these flaps in. Okay. And then I will take my paper off of my tape. It would help if I had my knife to give me a little bit of an edge, but I will persevere. Okay, and I'm only going to do this one flap at a time. So this is the one of the long flaps. And I'm just going to take it, start in the center, and I'm pulling it tight. And like I said, there's double-sided tape on the board, on the cardboard here, and on the paper out here. So I'm going to lay it flat and pull it a little, because I would like it to go down pretty firmly. And I went over my tape on the edges a little bit, like up in here, but that's okay. I'll be able to get that out. There you go. And that's one edge. I really like this green color. And I'm probably going to do a coat of Mod Podge on it, which will change it to a even better color. Okay, and then I'm going to put glue on this edge. I'm trying to keep it kind of thin because I don't want it to get too bubbly. Although sometimes the bubbly look is kind of cool. I think for this one I've got to remember to pull the end pieces up a little bit just so I have a starting point. So there's that. Whoop. And there's that. And I just want to pull this a little bit. And I'll pull this a little bit. I know I can get it out of one side, but I don't know if I can get it out of both at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to reach across a little bit. I'm just pulling it tight. I'm going to take this corner and pull this kind of tight. I want it too tight. I don't want too much of a bow in it, but I do want it firm. Okay, there's that. Okay. So I'm going to come down here to this end, and I'm just going to, I'll put the glue on. Notice I went under the corners a little bit because these corners, when I put the tape down, it didn't give me any wiggle room, so I think I pulled up a little short. Or a little long on this side, a little short on the other side. But I think I should be okay. Okay, let me get my knife. Yep, this piece is gonna, oh, there it goes. Pull that off. And I'll pull this piece out. Put my knife back so I don't wind up cutting myself with it. And then I'm just going to take this and pull it kind of in the center, push it forward. And I'll work my way to this end, and pull and push, tug, and whatever. And same over here. Looks like I went a little bit too far this way, so I'm going to have to trim that off. The only thing about tape that I don't like is you don't really have a lot of wiggle room. It's one of the reasons I like wet glue. And all this in here is going to be covered for the most part, so we won't worry too much about that. But I will trim that off. There. I don't want any overhang to the outside. That'd be pretty awful. There. And one more side. Okay, and take this off. And we'll take this off. And I'm going to kind of push that corner in a little, push this corner in a little. And pull this right over. Start in the middle here. There, come down this way. Pull that a little bit and go that way. There. And the box is covered. So that's the basis for my cover. And there's my spine. And then I have my flaps out here to do with what I will. And everything looks pretty good. Okay. Next section. Okay, another short clip. I was just going through some of my Christmas papers trying to figure out what I want to put down just as a basis at the inside back of my book. And I think I'm going to put this polka dot paper because it's got some different shades of green that'll help tie it all together. And it's got red and teal. And I think it'll be really pretty. Different shades of red even. And then because it's not quite long enough that it comes over on the edges where I've got these flaps, I'm considering, I have an old, I'm trying to use up some of my stash. I have a Martha Stewart Crafts, and these are adhesive borders. So I'm thinking I might put a couple of border stickers along the outside edge and pull it together that way. And I'm thinking of using white cardstock for the actual pages in my book. And then I've got, for the journal section that I want to add, I'll use the some of this coffee stained paper. So let me get to it. I'm just going to put some adhesive on the back of the paper and get it stuck down really well. And then I'll put my stickers on, and I'll come back when I'm ready to put the pages in. So that was the main reason for this video, was how I put the pages into my Halloween journal. And I'm going to show it with this beginning of this Christmas journal. So thanks for sticking with me. Okay, well, I've gone a little bit further, and I put the polka dotted fabric inside my journal cover. And I also took one of these Martha Stewart self-adhesive stickers, the they're pine needles and berries, and I put it on this edge over here. And then I took some trim on a roll, which is this lace. It's a 1/4 inch, and from Hobby Lobby. And I put that on the inside of the sticker on this side, and then I put it out to the inside the crease for the back fold. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do any type of pockets or anything. I used wet glue to put the paper down, so I need to let it dry well before I crease it to put these creases in. So that's where I am right now. And like I said, the main reason for this is for putting the pages in on the spine, is to show how I did that for my Halloween journal. So I'll come back after I get a little bit further. Okay, I'm back. Almost forgot to film this, believe it or not. Because of course, hey, this is what I'm here for. And I just got involved with what I was doing. I picked a kind of white cardstock for my base pages. And by base pages, those are the pages that are going to be hooked into the body of my photo journal, which is what I've decided to call this. So this is a Reflections. That's from probably Michaels. It's 100 sheets. And this is shimmer cardstock, which means one side of it is covered with, and I don't know if this will pick it up, it's covered with shimmer, and the other side is white. So what I did was I measured my journal, and I know that my pages are going to be probably like from where the polka dot paper ends to where the polka dot paper ends, and that's about 7 inches. So I measured it, and it comes up just shy of 7 inches, so 7 inches. And I know that the pages are roughly 4 3/4 inches from here to here. So I need about a 4 1/4 inch base page from here to here. So what I did was I cut a 7 inch long, let me turn this over, I cut this at 7, measured over, and cut it 7. And then I turned it and I cut 4 3/4 inches wide. So it was a 7 by 4 3/4. And then I got out my scoreboard and I went to a 1/2 inch and I scored a line. And then I folded it on the line. And right now I have 4 of those pages, and they each have a 1/2 inch fold. So it's this 1/2 inch fold. You can see I've folded this up, so my spine is right here, and it's not quite. It's about 2 3/4 inches across my spine. So this makes it kind of easy because these are 1/2 inch folds, which means 4 of these is going to take up 2 inches, and that leaves me 3/4 of an inch to put my journal pages in. Now in my Halloween album, what I did was I had taken a sheet of paper. Anyway, full-length sheet of paper, folded it in half, and then folded it again. So I had a fold in and a fold. And then I sewed it onto a strip of paper that would have fit into that 3/4 inch slot. And I sewed through the middle fold. And then onto the journal, I glued it. I glued the strip of paper that I sewed it to. So nothing showed on the outside of the journal at all. I didn't come through the cover. I kept it all on the inside. So I took anything extra and I just glued it into the spine. And I'm going to do that with this one too. I'm going to come over a little bit because I want to have a little bit of space, which I guess means I'm going to start in the back. And I'm going to glue each of these, and you can see they line up with the top of that border paper and the bottom. So they are the same size, the same height as the sheet of paper that I glued in for the inside of the journal. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space next to this fold because I don't want my hinge being caught up in the fold. And I'm going to glue this one here. And then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to line that up with this one, and I'm going to glue it right next to it, just butted right up to it. And then I have a choice. I can either leave a space and put my next 2 pages over here on my spine and put my journal that I'm going to do in the middle, or I can put the next page in and put the journal here and then another page, or I can put all 4 pages towards the back and put the journal in the front. And when I get to the journal part, I will show the sewing it to a strip of paper and then gluing it into the spine. So you will see that. But this is how I do these pages, and that's just making that fold so that there's a flap, and then taking this flap and gluing it into the spine, and they just butt them up to each other. So you can do this in any number of ways. You can use hot glue, you can use double-sided tape, or you can do what I'm doing and use wet glue. And for this you have to wait a little while, a little bit, and let everything dry. pull this over. Now I have my fold, it's folded towards the mat, the white side, so the shiny page is going to be in the front as far as this last page goes. Like I said, I want to leave a little bit of room between this page and my back border, or the fold for the back cover. It's just like a scant 1/8 of an inch, but I want to make sure that when I close my book, it doesn't interfere with this hinge. And I'm just pressing it down, making sure there's no stray glue out here along this edge, which there isn't. And it's butted right up to the paper, top and bottom. I'm going to lay it down this way and take my tissue, trying to be globally conscious, and I either use tissue, and actually I prefer paper towel instead of baby wipes, because I don't know how long it takes a baby wipe to, biodegrade in a landfill. So my paper towel works just as well. Tissue sticks, but paper towel generally, if you keep it moving, does okay. So there's my back page, and it's all stuck down. And as it dries, it'll, be better. And then you can take your next page and some more glue, and then just putting the glue on the flap, hinge, whatever you like to call it. I just spread that out. Try not to go too far over onto the paper, but oh well. Now, for this, I could either put it so all the shiny pages are out, facing front, or I could alternate it and do like a white and then a shiny, where the shiny matches up and then the white would match up. And I may do it that way. Oh no, I'm going to keep my hinges going the same way because I want the space between my pages. So I'm just going to butt these up to each other. Try to get it lined up to the bottom of the page, and then get it lined up to the top of the page, and press it down. Go up just a little. This is what I like about wet glue. It has a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm very rarely perfect the first time. So there is that page is in and nicely butted, top and bottom, and to the back. I'm just gonna wipe off any excess glue best I can. There's that. And then that's where the question comes in. Do you want to put, let me see, like a journal, where you have a whole group of pages sewn into a signature and then put in. Do I want to put that here and have 2 more pages in the front? Do I want to put another page in here, put my journal here, and have another page out here? Or do I want to put my journal right up front and then do all my photo pages in the back? And I think that's what I might do. I'm going to put my journal up front and put all 4 photo pages in more towards the back. So I will get on with it. There we go. The extra glue off my mat. Pull my book back. Make sure the shiny part goes that way and that my flap is meeting up with my next page. And it meets up at the bottom of my book. And then that it meets up with the top of my book. Press it all down good. Grab my paper towel. Wipe up any extra glue. Page this way. Pick up any extra glue here too. Make sure everything looks pretty good. That's 1, 2, 3. And then the last one. Open that out. Put more glue on the flap, the hinge, the edge, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and you know, I could have run these things through embosser if I wasn't going to decorate them. If I was just going to make pockets and put in the book, you could do that. And you could just like take some paint and hit the high areas off your embossing if you wanted. That'd be a simple finish. Could do all manner of things. You could die cut the edges and make them designer. All kinds of options, and they're all equally wonderful. I'm going to be decorating these pages, creating pages that go on them with pockets and things to hold photos. So this will be good enough for me for now, giving me a blank canvas, so to speak, to just, you know, embellish and decorate as I see fit, as I go along, which I'm really looking forward to. There's all 4 of my pages. And that leaves me this area, which is about 3/4 of an inch, which is good because I said this was 2 3/4 inches, and each of these folds was a 1/2 inch. So a 1/2 inch times 4 is 2 inches. So having 3/4 inch left here is perfect. So what I will do is I'll do just shy of 3/4 inch. I will take a piece of my leftover shimmer paper from cutting these pages, and I will cut a strip that's a little less than 3/4 of an inch wide and 7 inches long, and that will be a flat strip. I'm going to create my journal using my coffee dyed paper and stuff, and then I will take the centerfold of my journal pages and sew them to this 3/4 inch strip of paper on my sewing machine. And then I'm going to take that 3/4 inch, or a little less than 3/4 of an inch piece of paper. I'm going to butt it up to here, and then it's going to be glued in just like I glued these flaps in. And then my journal will sit out here. Nothing will go through my spine. The pages will all be affixed inside my journal. My journal will be on the front of it, inside my front cover, and I can embellish it and write in it and have a beautiful Christmas keepsake. So I will be creating the journal and sewing it, and then I will show you, I will add the clip that shows me gluing that into my journal. So I'll be back. Okay, I think this was the last section. I'll do a flip through of the final journal in another video. But I just put that string. I put together some pages and cut them to size so that they will fit in the rest of the space here. One thing I do need to do is make sure that everything is right side up. Hopefully. Yep. And so I sewed them. Went to my sewing machine, and you could do this with a pamphlet stitch too. And I sewed down the center of my signature, and then I sewed it again, and I put that 3/4 inch, 7-inch long piece for my journal spine. And then all I'm going to do is take some glue. I used Aleene's again. And I am going to put a good amount of glue, try to keep it in frame. Put some glue down the whole strip because I want the whole thing to stick. So I want it to especially stick really well. I'm just adding a little extra glue in the binding. Okay, and it's gotten a little bit dark here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to check one more time and just try to make sure see, I almost put it in upside down. Make sure all my pockets and stuff are right side up because I've got pockets here. And I have that here. Okay, so I'm going to take my glue, my glued strip, because that's all that is a 3/4 inch wide, 7-inch long strip of paper that I am going to butt up against those original pages. Make sure that they're aligned. And I will make sure that this part is lined up the best I can get it. There's that. Little unweldy, but not terrible. Just have to make sure everything butts up good. And line it all up. Line this all up. Push it all down. Clean up any excess glue. Now I can't lay the journal down yet because I'm afraid the weight of the pages laying sideways would just pull this binding strip up. But it feels like it's stuck pretty well. So I'm just going to open it back up to the middle. Make sure that's pushed down really well. And I could take a couple of bullnose clamps. There's a really big one, a little bit overkill. And put it there. and put one here just to hold it for a few minutes and make sure it all stays down. And that's pretty much it. That's how you put the pages in one of these journals. At least that's how I did my Halloween one. I glued some flaps for some of the pages, and then my double spread, I sewed down the middle of the double onto a strip of paper, and then I glued the strip of paper into the binding, just butted up against the flaps from the other pages. So what I'll do is I'll decorate this journal in the next day or so, and then I will put the flip through up to go along with this. And I hope this was helpful. It's hard when you break it up into pieces like this. At least it's hard for me. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you for watching. I hope this inspires you to get your paper out and try. Until next time, take care, God bless, be colorful. Okay, I came back because I've been working on my album a little bit, just putting a few things into these journal pages. And then I realized that these pages in the back are different than the journal pages, and that may very well be what people wanted to see. So, let me take this piece of paper out. I haven't really done anything to it yet, except cut some paper. So what I did was I just took some Recollections cardstock, and for me it's this deep green, and I measured my, lost my ruler, hang on, there it is. These pages in the back that are hinged in, take this out, that are hinged in with the fold that I showed are they're 7 inches tall by about 4 and maybe 1/4 inches wide. So what I did was I took my cardstock and I cut it at 6 inches tall by 4.5 inches wide. And that, I'm sorry for the lighting, it's kind of dark in here today. It's kind of a gloomy day. Let me see if I can get another light on. Sure, that'll help. Okay, so it's 6.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. And I'm going to build a page. This is Shelley Geigel's method. So if you've watched any of her scrapbook album videos on YouTube, this is kind of her method. I kind of go off on my own little tangent, but she builds her pages on a separate sheet and then glues them into the page in her photo albums. And I like that idea. So that's kind of my plan. And I've cut some plain cardstock at 6.5 by 4. And then I cut some printed cardstock also at 6.5 by 4, which will go into my book on these 2 pages. And then I have another piece of solid green that'll be this page. And then this was also just a piece of scrapbook paper that I cut out at 6.5 by 4. And that will go on this facing page here. And then I have this piece, also 6.5 by 4, that'll go on this page. And then this will go here facing it. And then my back page, which is where I kind of started, because that's how I roll, I have this piece of cardstock, Recollections, just regular Recollections that you can buy at Michael's or Joann's. And that'll go on this page. This is the back cover of my book. And Right now I haven't got anything planned for this yet. So anyway, this is the back page. So what I did was, I know this is 6.5 by 4. And I had this piece of cardstock left over from one of my other cuts. Turn it around. And it's really pretty. It has a cardinal, and it's got a stag and a Santa. It's kind of a collage type piece, and it says, "Love and cheer throughout the year." I managed to be able to save that as a reserve from all my other cuts. So then what I did was I took my scoreboard, and I have the Martha Stewart scoreboard, and I took my piece of cardstock, which I've now made a mess with, because by the time I thought that this might actually be the part that everybody really wants to see, I'd already put some glue on it. So let me just wipe the glue off it. See? Okay, so it's kind of like this one. It's the same size. It's an offcut. So all I did was I know my sheet is 6.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. And this is less. This started out at, I love this ruler, but I always have to turn it around. This started out at about 5.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. So I want to make this a pocket on my page. So here's my page that I'm going to build on. It's just that 6.5 by 4 inch piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of scrap paper, or scrapbook paper, and I've got my my bone folder that came with the Martha Stewart scoreboard, and I just moved in like 1/4 inch. Actually, put this up here. So this is 4 inches here. Okay. So at 4 inches, so I did a 1/4 inch score line, and then I just moved out one line. It's a blue tick on this scoreboard, and I did another score line. So that's 2 score lines, one at a 1/4 inch and one an 1/8 inch in. And then I turn it, and this isn't a good one to show you because I had to figure it out. I did another, well, this one's almost 1/2 inch up. And then I just went out 1/8 inch, and I did another mark. Okay, so what I'm basically doing is I'm making it so there's like an 1/8 inch border. When I fold those 2 score lines, I get an 1/8 inch. That makes this pocket bigger. And then I'll be folding that in too. So what I did at that point was where these lines intersect, I'll show you on another one, I just cut that corner out so that it's clean. And when I hook it on my paper, I will put the long end in first and the short end on the outside, and that way when things slide into it, they don't catch on this lip. Okay. So I am going to try to find some empty space here. Again, Aleene's Tacky Glue. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to put glue on this outside edge, not over my score lines, just on the outside, because I want to glue this down. And this is my page that's going to go here. And I want to put the edge of my pocket, need more room. I want to put the edge of my pocket so that it's facing in, because that's the way the design on this paper goes. All right, so here's my blank cardstock, and this pocket goes at the bottom end. So I'm going to just slide this in to the first score line, okay? The one that's the furthest out. That's going to leave me that little score line lip, because that's going to be my kind of box edge. And I'm going to try to line that up as best I can and then press it down. And I have to move my book. Okay. So push that down. Make sure that's all there good. Pardon my phone. My granddaughters are in school and I don't like to turn my phone off when there's people out of the house. So anyway, there's that. And you can see it's only on that first score line. And you can do this with hot glue if that's your preference. I don't use hot glue that much. All right, so the bottom one, we want that 1/4 inch box lip, or 1/8 inch box lip, not quarter, 1/8. So for this I want to just go to the inside, to the first score line. I'm just going to put a little glue here. I woke up with a migraine this morning, so I kind of have headache hangover. So I'm sorry if I'm a little disoriented. But I'm going to hook that right there on the back of this piece of cardstock. I'm just going to hold it for a minute because it's wet glue. But you can see it has that little box edge. And then this side has like a box edge too, which gives you extra room. So now I'm just going to lay this down. And kind of pushing that in a little further. Because I really want that to catch. And I need my bone folder, because I'm going to come in here and I'm going to press, just to make sure that glue is down good. And that's what the back edge of it looks like. But you're not going to see this side, and that's why these pages look so neat and why I like Shelley's method, because although it's got this on the back of it, as you can see now, when I put this on the page, this part has elevation, and you can fit a lot of stuff in this pocket, but you won't see all of the, the structure behind it that makes it happen. So that's kind of cool. And then, there's other things you could do. You can decorate this. I think I'm going to round this corner. And we have this is an EK Success corner rounder that I've had for ages. And I always look at this from the bottom so I can make sure my corner goes in there straight. And I just clip that off, and then I have a rounded corner, which with that little wreath in the corner, I think just makes it look a little neater. So when I finally am finished with this page, which I'm not at this point, I will center it here so there's a little bit of border. Let me put a piece of colored paper in here so you can see. So that there's a little bit of a border, of a white border. And I'll try to center it as best I can, top and bottom. And then it will go in like this. And because I have these 1/2 inch gusset areas, the width on my pages won't matter so much because I know I have that much room between this page and my back cover, which is good. So that's how I'm going to do these back pages. I will do the pages on a separate piece of cardstock, and then I will take my designed page and just glue it onto the album page. And that gives it a nice clean look. I hope that helps. Here. I know this has been kind of a hash up of a video, which I apologize for, but I don't know. I am definitely struggling a little bit as far as talking while I work and having distractions. But I've made a few more pages. I am going to do a flip through of this album, and I'll do it in a separate video. But I did want to show that I have this page that I'm going to be putting in my book. And I was just going to use it as the base page. And now I've decided I'm just going to make it a top-loading pocket. And I added more of these structure strips, which I will glue down to the page in the album to make this a pocket and to give it a little extra room. And I thought I would show you this because if you can see, I cut the edges at a slant here, because if you put this down in, then the tags seem to slide down in a little bit easier if it has a little bit of a downward angle. Paper doesn't get hung up on it as much. So I thought that might be a good tip to share. And by doing this, I can make these tags as wide as possible because I have the fold of the strips over right along with the edge of the page or the pocket. So as this goes into my book, I will glue it on the back of the strips, and I can move it down further and still leave myself a border. And I'll cut a little thumb hole, and that way the whole pocket will be able to be utilized. So I hope that helps, maybe gives you a little bit of incentive. I think I'm going to finish here. I still have a couple of pages that I have to add things to, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it. So thank you for watching. I hope that you have a blessed day, and if you have any questions, ask. I will try to answer them.